Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, our guest today is Senator Billy Beasley, Democrat from Clayton. Also, the V-Team takes a look at the 2014 races, and Senator Dale Marsh and Speaker of the House Mike Hubbard draw opposition for their races. Who's on the dance card? All this and much, much more coming up next on The Beat. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, joined as always by the V-Team.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day. A little late.
I know. I'm not doing an advertisement for Hallmark, but I figured I might be the only one on the set with a heart.
Well, I think you are.
You're the only one with candy, I'll say that.
Well, you know, with attractive women like you and Charlana on the show, we ought to have Match.com as our sponsor.
Well, we're looking into that.
Oh, good. All the rest of us are taken. Oh, well. This week in politics, as usual, a lot going on. Speaker Hubbard and President Pro Tem Marsh, the leadership of the Republican Party, they have drawn competition in the primary from fellow Republicans. Who wants to start us off on that?
I think a party in growth should really embrace competition. When the Democrats ran the state for years, they always had contested primaries. This entitlement mentality that some of our Republicans have, that they are entitled to their position without someone challenging them in the next election, that's in lieu of term limits. Term limits are every 4 years at the ballot box. If the people want to re-elect you, they do. If they don't, they turn you out of office. But these guys in charge now, they're fighting for their lives because from what I understand, there's some pretty fierce competitors out there for this next election.
Well, who are some of the folks that are running, Barron?
Well, the two biggest races are going to be Steve Jeedy against
Dale Marsh, Senator
up
Marsh.
in Anniston, and Sandy Toomer against Mike Hubbard over in Auburn. I think those are kind of the two bellwether races that'll suck up a lot of the time, attention, and money around the state. It'll be interesting to see how much money the Marsh-Hubbard wing of the Republican Party sinks into those two races. If they get over-animated and sink too much money into those races, I think you're going to see a lot of these peripheral races. I would be worried if I was Ed Henry. I would be worried if I was some of these other folks.
Gerald Allen, like from Tuscaloosa, he's got primary opposition, general election opposition. You've got Senator Gerald Dowell, who switched to the Republican Party a long time ago. He's got primary opposition with a gentleman who's been on the executive committee and been in the trenches for, gosh knows, at least 20 years. You've got Tom Whatley, who's got opposition over in Auburn. And then you've got, well, of course, Mike Hubbard's opposition is a very well-known name, but you've got, and then Holtzcloth, you've just got opposition all down the ballot. And like you said, a lot of these people are the Tea Party folks, rainy day patriots. It's not these leftist wings that they're out there accusing it of people. And I agree with Jack. You know, I mean, competition is healthy.
It is.
I mean, in any shape, whether it's business, politics, or whatever, it's healthy.
And about the competition, they want to say about the school system, the public school issue, well, we just want to infuse competition. Competition's good. It makes everybody better. But when it comes to their own elections, well, we don't want any competition. We're going to scratch and claw your eyes out if you come after us, and we're going to try behind the scenes to get you disqualified.
If I were a
and everything
candidate
else.
this year, and luckily we're running some races, I would make Common Core a big issue because I think the more you get out of Montgomery, the more it's an issue in the hinterlands. People do not like edicts handed down from Washington telling you what curriculum you're supposed to have for your school system. And also, transparency and ethics in government are big issues this time.
Well, and they ran on that, y'all.
Exactly.
They did. And as I mentioned, The Anniston Star was the one that mentioned the Common Core.
Right.
And then another paper in North Alabama, maybe it was Florence or something, talked about, well, they disbanded PACs and they've done all this disclosure, but PACs is where the campaign elections are still won, and that's who really funds those races.
Well,
or PACs.
They don't have transparency at all. I mean,
that was window dressing.
Yeah.
That's all it was. And then I thought it was very interesting, the guy, Yellowhammer or Yellow Hubbard, however you call that blog site, they even lobbed it out there this week. I saw one day, well, you know, all the people that were elected last time, they're going to really have to go out and raise their own money. They're not going to be able to depend on 2014 and these other PACs. So that, to me, is a sign and a message that with everybody in leadership having opposition and a lot of incumbents, there's not the money there that they thought it was.
And a lot of these people that were elected, and I said this last show, in 2010 were first-time candidates that they just found out of the woods and put them on the ballot just to have somebody run it. They don't know how to run a campaign. If they don't have a lot of money from some of these Hubbard-controlled PACs behind them, they're going to be terrible candidates.
We're going to have to switch on. The governor drew some opposition this week, or last week, from Parker Griffith. Jack, what's your thoughts on that?
I don't really know Parker Griffith very well. He switched parties a couple of times. I think that's an issue. I mean, he was a Democrat and a Republican, now he's running as a Democrat. I think he'll make Bentley spend a little money that Bentley probably didn't want to spend, but I don't think there's any danger there.
Yeah. I mean, I've known, I would say, Senator Parker Griffith and Congressman Parker Griffith. I've worked with him. I mean, everybody knows I'm a long, hard-time Republican. He knows the medical issues, the Medicare, and, you know, taking the money here, and that's going to be a big issue. I think he's going to focus on that. And ironically enough, you've got two doctors running for governor in the state of Alabama. Who can take care of the patients and the citizens of Alabama the best?
Well, it's going to be, you know, it's good that he has competition now. The governor has someone to run against, but he's so popular, it's hard to imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
Kay Ivey out in the state is very popular, but not around here in Montgomery. We got 1 minute. Barron, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, Kay Ivey's got two opponents, really. She's got Stan Cook, who's a very formidable guy. He's a very impressive guy when you just sit down and talk to him. If you talk to him for an hour, he kind of can blow you away. I've seen him give a few speeches to groups. He's just a really...
he's crystal clean.
Yeah, and he is.
He's got a beautiful wife, a family, you know,
right.
no baggage.
He seems like a nice guy.
Articulate man.
I think he'll be a good competition to her. James Fields, not so much. I think there are a lot of Democrats that really wish James Field had sort of pulled out at the last minute and not done this. And, you know, there are other Democrat, Republican races on the ballot. And
well, Stan is definitely one of those Tea Party type guys. I mean, he's been around for a while and preaching the gospel.
And I have to just say for the record, I've been doing a little consulting, but he's got all these Republican types all the way, as I call it, down the corridor 65, these organizations that are begging him to come see him.
Well, it's going to be interesting. You're watching The Voice of Alabama Politics. Our guest coming up is State Senator Billy Beasley, Democrat. Stay put. We'll be right back.
The V is sponsored by Spot On Strategies Group.
In 1977, an 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father. The odds of that same boy then making it to the US and European Pro Golf Tours, 1 in 7 million. The odds of the Big Easy winning the US Open twice, 1 in 1.2 billion. The odds of him having a child diagnosed with autism, 1 in 88. Ernie Els encourages you to learn the signs of autism.
Here's what customers are saying about WeatherGuard Lifetime Metal Roofing.
The product is something with no maintenance and that I never have to worry about the rest of my life.
The price was very reasonable, we thought, and we were well satisfied with the installation.
Hello, I'm Robert Wells, president of WeatherGuard. We are a family-owned business and we will back our lifetime warranty for generations to come.
Come by our showroom on Alton Road in Birmingham. WeatherGuard Lifetime Metal Roofing, 533-7322.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. Our guest today is State Senator Billy Beasley from Clayton. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you, Bill. It's an honor to be here.
You recently let the folks of Alabama know that you would run for another term in the Senate. I wrote a little bit about that announcement, and one of the things that I said is I said that you are our modern-day Atticus Finch. And I did mean that, your service to the state and your attitude is that of a statesman. Can you tell me a little bit about what you actually think about when you are in office and at your position?
Well, Bill, first of all, it's an honor and privilege to be able to have the opportunity to serve in the Alabama Senate, to be a voice for the people who elected me, for the people of my district, and for the people of Alabama about the issues that they care about and also about the issues that I care about.
One of the issues that you care greatly about is health care. You are a licensed pharmacist. Like our governor, you're a man of medical science. He says he will not expand health care for the poorest Alabamians, and you disagree with that stance. Can you tell us why?
Bill, I feel very deeply that health care is so important to the lives of Alabamians as well as folks in the United States. And for the governor, being a medical doctor, to disallow over 350,000 working Alabamians not to have the opportunity to have health care insurance that is affordable is almost unthinkable to me. And I feel so strongly that our people require health care insurance where they can be healthy and take care of their families, be the best employee they can for the people that allow them to have a job. It's just important that health care is provided for all of our Alabamians. 350,000 Alabamians have health care insurance, an influx of $11.7 billion over a period of 6 or 7 years, at a small amount of money for Alabama to invest $971 million, creating possibly 35,000 jobs in the healthcare industry and other industries. And on top of that, the Department of Revenue would probably receive $1.5 to $2 billion in revenue to the state of Alabama. I think it's just a decision that's how anybody that's a leader of the state of Alabama could not make a decision that's in the welfare and the interests of over 350,000 Alabamians. I think you got to care about Alabama and not send a message that I'm going to fight Washington from today and the day forward. I think it's wrong.
That seems to be, so much of what we do is lately has been people are running against Washington, they're running against Obama, and as I've often said, our Democrats in the state of Alabama are not radical Democrats like you might find in San Francisco or in California. Most folks in Alabama were born Democrats. I mean, up until just, maybe 30 years ago or less than 40 years ago. Right now, our legislature is comprised of a majority of Republicans, though. They took over in 2010. One of the complaints I know you have made is that the Republican supermajority has cut off debate and they've cut off compromise. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I think it's important for the people of Alabama, for their representatives in the Senate and in the House of Representatives, because we are the voice of the people who send us to Montgomery to look after their interests as well as the interests of all Alabamians. And when you have a bill that's somewhat controversial, I think it's imperative that both sides of the aisle are allowed time to explain their position and come to a reasonable compromise that's in the best interest of the majority of Alabamians. And since the supermajority Republicans have had control of the Senate and House, in the Senate I can speak for because I'm a member of that body, we've had over 75 cloture votes. And when you have a cloture vote, you shut off debate and you close out the process. And that's not fair to all the Alabamians. You know, we're not here to represent just a privileged few of people. We're not here just to represent the corporations of Alabama. We're here to represent the interests of all the people of Alabama. And I hope and pray that the supermajority, I don't want to see a supermajority Democratic or Republican. I don't think that's in the best interest of the people of Alabama.
Another issue that I know has been one that you brought up lately is pay raises for our teachers and their support staff, as well as state employees. It seems like because this is an election year, they might see a little bit of a pay raise, but it's just not enough according to most folks. What's your thoughts?
Well, when you punish public employees for 2 terms, maybe 3 terms, and in the 4th term of the quadrennium, and it is an election year, that you want to say, now I want to help you, I think the position should be that we should support our education, our teachers, support personnel, all people who work in the education field, as well as state employees, because education is vital to the interests of all of our young people, to give them the qualifications where they can prepare themselves for life. And then in the state employees, they are providing vital services to the people of this state that without the state of Alabama providing those services, then they would be without those needs. And many times they're vital to survival. And I think it's more important, I see a trend to privatize so many different agencies in the state of Alabama. In the healthcare arena, they want to privatize managed care for Medicaid. The Medicaid system's not broken. They just want to change the way that the providers of healthcare are compensated for the service they provide to the Medicaid recipients.
Well, I want to thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on your program. I respect you as a journalist because you search the facts and then you report the facts to the people.
Well, thank you very much. Our guest today has been State Senator Billy Beasley, Democrat from Clayton. We'll be right back with The V.
The V is sponsored by Ginger Barbie, attorney at law. And MediaWorks Communications, video production services for all your video production needs. Save on energy costs and protect your home with a WeatherGuard Lifetime Metal Roof. WeatherGuard metal roofs are produced by the best manufacturers and installed by our certified experts. WeatherGuard is family-owned and believes in honesty, integrity, and professionalism. Come by and visit our 2,000 square foot showroom on Alton Road in Birmingham. Be sure to ask about the Energy Star tax credit. WeatherGuard Lifetime Metal Roofing, 533-7322, WeatherGuardMetalRoofs.com.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. Well, Senator Beasley had some very sensible things to say. One of them that truly piqued my interest was this information about lack of compromise, lack of debate. We've seen it time and time again. The Republican supermajority just steamrolls through the House and Senate. It's unbelievable.
Well, and that was one of the things that I thought was an excellent point he made, is that anytime you have a supermajority, whether it is if the Democrats are in power or the Republicans are in power, you have the a concern about legislation coming up and being moved through from the time it's been submitted into the box until it's into the next House, and you have no opportunity to find out really what is behind the legislation, what it's attempting to do, before it's already sitting on the governor's desk. And so that's certainly one concern. There's just not enough time to review the legislation that's coming before them.
Wait a minute, I think that's a little bit too expeditious to think that it goes that quickly, because it does fly to the House pretty quickly. But then usually, history repeats itself. It gets to the Senate, and it's not going to.
Well, that's the ordinary course of action, but when mischief arises, the problem with the supermajority is you can't get any debate going long enough to slow down the process and draw attention to it. Well,
and as we know, and I think you heard it on radio, there was one senator, local senator in the Montgomery area, not Birmingham, saying, God forbid, if they lose 2 or 3 Senate seats, we got to have debate. Who was that?
That was Senator Brubaker said, if we lose 3 seats in the Senate, we'll have to debate some of these bills. And, God forbid that a legislative deliberative body has to actually engage in some sort of debate before they pass legislation.
But take a look at some of the legislation that's been proposed this session. I mean, Barron and I were talking before we went on air about a bill, these drones that harass hunters, the tanning bed, where you would have to have parental consent.
Regulate tanning beds.
I thought we as Republicans wanted less government intrusion in our life, not more.
Well, these guys would enact the entire book of Leviticus, it seems like, in one sitting. It's just crazy. We talk about less government, fewer regulations, and I mean, they're piling on this stuff.
Well, honestly,
like whipped cream on a
pumpkin pie.
Here.
Well, the other thing that I think is a big deal is the Republican Party platform is less government, more transparency. And there's a couple of bills that we've seen this session that are the exact opposite from a transparency standpoint. One of the bills that I think we ought to be concerned about and that we ought to take a closer look at is the one that affects the Ethics Commission, where public officials and public employees have to make certain filings of their statements of economic interest. They're normally posted on the Ethics Commission website, and folks like lawyers, constituents, the average public member can go onto the website and find out who their family members are, where they're receiving their money, where their their economic ties are. Right. And this legislation would actually allow the Ethics Commission to redact certain information that's posted.
And the Ethics Commission has gone ahead, and maybe on their own, maybe at the urging of the leadership, we don't know, but you used to be able to jump on the website, on the Ethics Commission website, and go 4, 5, 6 years back and pull up old statements of economic interest. Can't do that anymore.
Poof, it's gone.
No, it's gone, and there's no explanation for why it happened, and there was no announcement it was going to happen. Now, if you want that information, they've got to know who you are. You've got to send an email. You've got to tell them who you are.
Yeah, so like, somebody that's been elected in the last 4 years, how many state contracts has their business been awarded over the last 4 years and things like that.
Or how many state contracts has their spouse has been awarded.
Right. Yeah. Or if they are connected or work in, some entity related to state government. It's all vanished, poof, now.
Well, they want regulations for everybody else. They don't want any for themselves. I mean, this drug testing for welfare recipients, that's a big deal. Of course, that was illegal in Florida, right?
There was a law that was passed in Florida, and it actually was implemented for about a year before the federal district court down there struck it down and said it was unconstitutional. It was a violation of the individual's right to search and seizure under the Fourth Amendment. There's the same kind of bill that has been proposed in Alabama with a slight difference. The bill that's proposed in Alabama would only allow drug testing for someone who had a previous drug conviction. The problem with even that is I don't know, once a court looked at it, whether or not it would withstand constitutional scrutiny, because the mere fact that you have a previous positive drug test does not necessarily establish reasonable suspicion or probable cause to allow that kind of intrusive search.
Is this opening up more lawsuits for the state? Is that what this is?
Well, the ACLU, I have no doubt, would immediately challenge this. The other issue that you have is if you look at the impact this kind of testing has had in other states. Arizona did it for 3 years. They found one person that tested positive. Florida and Ohio, they found 2.5, 2.6%.
I know, we're talking about people in the West and the Midwest. We need to get to the deep South, the heart of the South, where drugs are just a common, market good industry where people sell. And, granted in the South, the deep South, we have hypertension, diabetes, heart attacks. Here we've got tons of people on the welfare recipient rolls. And traditionally, if you've been convicted before, you're usually in some type of parole and monitoring system where somebody's checking you. But, I think there's an amendment or there's another bill.
Well, there's another
Claire,
bill.
let's look at the Deep South, though. Let's look at Florida. Under their program,
Florida's a Yankee state.
2.6%.
It's full of Yankees.
2.6%.
No, it's full of Yankees down there in Florida. I lived down there. It was full of Yankees.
Except for Northwest Florida.
Well, that's worse than Alabama. Hey, the bill. There's a separate bill where they want to drug test legislators. What I think it needs to do is be offered as an amendment and make people vote on the amendment so that we get them on the record. Which legislators are scared to death that be drug tested? And I don't think it should be a P-test they can go in there and fake. It needs to be a 12-panel hair follicle test. It needs to be done monthly, and it needs to apply to chiefs of staff and the whole staffers and everybody that works up there in the state.
What do you think?
Well, wait a minute.
Black tar heroin is being shot on the state house.
I think you would be stunned if we did it. I'll say that.
Let's take Barron's point, though. If you look at Florida, you had a Congressman, Trey Radel, who had to give up his seat in the U.S. Congress because he was buying and using drugs not too long ago. Wow. He was getting government benefits, so why wouldn't we open this up, Barron, to everybody that receives government benefits?
I'm an equal opportunity.
We got about 30 seconds here, Claire.
Listen, when I served in Daddy Bush's administration, and I was a political appointee, and I was at the Department of Transportation, we were all drug tested. Every one of us, if you were a political appointee and you worked in some part of the President Bush's administration, you were drug tested.
Bring it on.
You know, and we did it without any problem. I did the hair follicles, all that.
I'm all for it as long as
But as long as you have nothing to hide, you're fine.
The more the merrier.
Test for cheap wine. This group's pretty good. Listen, you've been watching the V, the voice of Alabama politics. You can catch us every day at alreporter.com or ABC 3340 in Birmingham and ABC 32 in Montgomery. Thank you for watching. Have a great week.